Good morning. I'm sitting in my summer house. It's quite early. It's just approaching 7 o'clock in the morning. So this video will be a little bit different, I'm afraid. I mentioned quite a few weeks ago that I'd got a problem with one of my knees. It's got really bad. I can hardly walk. So I've not been able to do hardly anything in the garden whatsoever. Thankfully we've had quite a lot of rain, so that's kind of taken care of everything, and I've managed to harvest little bits here and there just when I wanted to cook my dinner. So what I thought I'd do is, I've had the soil test results come back, but the other thing I'm going to do would just be a little bit different, because I haven't been able to do any of my sort of general filming. My trail camera picks up the hedgehogs every night, but I've got all sorts of other bits of footage of the sort of the wildlife in the garden, so I thought I'd share that in this video, and hopefully when I get my knee resolved then I'll be back to normal. So let's see what we can get up to. So for the, let me say, past 5 years, the garden has been plagued with all sorts of problems, and I was doing so much research, and they say a little knowledge is dangerous, but I'd put down all my woes and problems in the garden down to the mosaic virus, because of the symptoms the plants were presenting, and that matched that particular disease. So I took evasive action and I still couldn't seem to stop it. And then autumn and winter just gone, I remodelled the whole garden. I created 7 raised beds and imported all new soil and started from scratch. I'd literally removed everything from the garden, and then the problem started again. So this prompted me in the end to get in touch with the RHS, that's the Royal Horticultural Society in the UK, and they suggested that I do soil analysis. So I did 2 samples from the garden, and I sent them off, and I've had the results back. Now the first sample that I want to talk about is from what I regarded as, or I named, the trellis bed, and I'll show you that in a minute, so to put it into context. This is not a raised bed. This is the original garden soil. It's at ground level and it's just got ornamentals growing in it. So what they test for is, if I just go through the list, they go for soil texture, organic matter, the soil pH, and then trace elements, the available phosphorus, potassium and magnesium. So basically that's what they're looking for. So the trellis bed came back as 11.7% organic matter, which they say is excellent, so it's quite high level, and their recommendations is to try and keep it as high. That is what is optimum for the plant development. The pH came back as 7.4, so it's in the neutral boundaries, but it's closer to alkaline. But it does say that it's ideal for the cultivation of ornamentals. It says that the phosphorus is high, the potassium is marginal, and the magnesium is adequate. Their recommendations are, it will require some extra potassium fertiliser for optimum growth. So that is definitely something that I need to look at. Now the second sample I sent off was for my raised beds, and they were created with imported soil of 60% fen soil and 40% horse manure. So the soil texture has been recorded as sandy loam, which I kind of expected really, and it's much the same as in the trellis bed. So it's free draining, light soil, and the disadvantage to that is that in long dry spells it will dry out very, very quickly. And you know yourself, if you've got a heavy soil, a clay type soil, and it gets wet, it gets very claggy, and in some cases it can actually flood. So it is an advantage to be free draining, but you just have to be mindful of the water levels, because you can put the plants under a huge amount of stress if you constantly let them dry right out before watering again. So that is something that I'm quite conscious of in the garden, and I try to keep moisture levels about the same. The organic matter is recorded as high and excellent, which I expected again. It's 14.9%, and because the soil imported had a high level of horse manure, it's not surprising. Now where things start to get quite tricky is the pH. Now I know that most vegetables grow at an optimum of 6 to 6.5 pH, which is sort of bang in the middle of the neutral between acidic and alkaline. These raised beds have been recorded as 8.4, so we're right up the top end, so it's mostly alkaline, and that's not good. It says that fruit will show or exhibit signs of deficiencies and chlorosis. So it says it's very difficult to get the pH down to a level of 6.5, but I'm thinking these beds, I filled them up. When did I fill them? It was probably mid to late winter, and through the growing season the raised bed levels have dropped considerably. So all I can think of is I just need to keep topping it up with organic matter, and I don't know whether that kind of dilutes it. I'm not sure that's the correct word to use, but I'm thinking if you add more and more neutral, will that compensate? I don't know. I'll have to look into that, but if anybody knows or has any ideas, please let me know in the comments below. But what I did notice, I was reading it over and over again, and I kept thinking to myself, why are they focusing only on fruit? And then when I read the label, they've only analysed it for fruit. I definitely put on the sample with fruit and vegetables, because obviously I mainly grow vegetables and they are my biggest concern. So I've emailed them today to ask why it's not been included. So whether I get a response today or not, I don't know. Now the trace elements, this is quite interesting. Phosphorus, it says the index is 4, which is high. Potassium index is 5, which is high, and the magnesium is 3, medium. So the predominant issue seems to be the pH more than anything. So I should continue feeding the beds, because I'm doing continual cropping and growing on, so I obviously need to keep those levels up. But it looks like out of all the issues throughout the whole garden, it's the fact that the pH is the level it is that's causing the most issues. So yeah, I hope I haven't bored you. I will, like I said earlier, I will put more information on the video at the end you can read, and if you're not interested, obviously you can scroll through it, but it's there. It does make quite interesting reading. But I've still got a coffee on the go. It's probably cold now, but I'm going to sit back and enjoy that now, and then I'm going to start adding to this video some of the wildlife footage that I filmed over the past month. Some of it is quite comical, some of it is quite surprising, and I've got a very special little friend as well that I want to share with you all. So yeah, laters. My little friend's back. He was out in the open a little while ago and he's got most of his adult feathers now, but he's a little sweetheart and he's just pottering around the garden. He's been there all night. Look at him. Look at his beautiful feathers. That's his little heart. I've put out some food for him. It was in a little dish. I managed to get it behind the greenhouse where he was last night, and it did look like he'd had some. So it's now 8:30 Monday evening. He's been there all last night, all of today, and I dare say he's going to be there all of tonight as well. And I'm so proud of Paddy. He knows he's there and he's just leaving him alone. So I'm going to go in and leave him as well.